Yo, what is going on, y'all? I'm Cavell Anderson, and we are back with another Veve and Ecomi video. And this one, we're going to be going over something that's interesting. So, Garyvee actually spoke like months ago and explaining how things were going to start going down in the NFT community, and it's crazy his level of understanding. That's why it was a lot of people who didn't understand what we were saying about Garyvee and why it shocked people that he wasn't going to speak about Veve directly, because when you predict exactly what's going to happen, you understand a market so well. You know this about the token that everybody never saw coming. It's like, because it was a time when Omi was at a penny and everybody thought it was up from there. Everybody thought it was going to move up, have some type of crazy Dogecoin explosion and things like this. But he's going to explain. He's going to it's going to be shocking what this man actually knows. So yeah, this was just a very, very interesting video that I thought everyone needed to see, because this is going to help you really understand the true potential of Veve and where it's actually going. But this like, he literally predicted the drop. He knew that it was going to come. So yeah, that being said, be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, turn on notifications so you stay updated, and let's get into it, y'all.
One of the reasons so many artists are not going to be quote unquote starving is because of a secondary market. And
very true.
What is remarkable, I mean, literally, I don't know if you can see this, they're starting to form, getting a couple little goosebumps here. You know,
Nice.
The fact that the artist can continue to get royalties.
That man said, nice, you have goosebumps. That was funny.
It's a revolution.
It's a revolution, Roger. I mean, like, my God. You know, I could super understand the artists of the past who would be super sad. They would make a painting, the gallery they had a deal on would pay them a certain amount, and they'd wake up 11 years later and the thing's selling for $11 million and they got 8,000.
Yep.
That's
I
crazy.
mean, my God.
You know, and now no matter how many OpenSea transactions there are and beyond, it's always that 10-ish% that's going back to the creator.
I can't get over it.
Yep.
I don't know what else to tell you. Like, to me, this is the greatest thing. So yeah, anyway, to origin story, like, that was who I was as an entrepreneur. I did really well, invested in a lot of companies, built a large marketing company, have built a big content platform. This is the scariest of them all. I'm asking myself questions of like, oh, is this it? Like, is this going to be the one? Was this all built? You know, for example, I know you pay attention to everything. You go, my team is finding all these videos of me doodling. I've never shared that part of me because I've never wanted to. You know,
okay, I can't. You know, I'm going to poke around at that. Like Garyvee is where it's at. It just is.
I can't believe that something that a lot of I posted 4 or 5 of my doodles, and I can't believe it. Like, I've always thought of myself far more creative than I've ever showed the world. It's actually similar to when I was the wine guy and then I started talking about business, and a lot of people were like, stay in your lane, wine boy, don't talk about business. And I was like, my God, I've always been a businessman. It's going to be an art.
All right, so this is where he's about to really get into it and really break it down. But it's crazy how the world does really want people to stay in their lane. They don't want you getting out of your element, talking about things that they don't think that you should be talking about and stuff like that. And honestly, it turns into the most life-changing things when you constantly knock down barriers and you constantly do the opposite of what people think that you should do or say that you should do. You realize that on the other side of people putting their fears and things off on you, or what they can't do off on you, it's nothing but opportunity. Because the worst thing that can happen is you fail, you learn what you did wrong, you do it again, and you succeed. Like, it's really that simple. It's a learning experience. People stop learning because they get in the habit of staying in that box. As long as you're in that box is your comfort zone. If you don't live outside of it, you'll always be in a box. So yeah, I mean, I had to give y'all a little deep moment for a minute, but let's get into it. This is the interesting part.
Artistic revolution. Now, I think a lot of people are going to misstep it because there's going to be so much conversation around finances. When people start seeing blah or people, or, you know, like, they're going to see things that are going to confuse people. And this, just for the community that's listening, this is what always happens. There's an art renaissance, and then comes commerce, and it gets a little blurry for a little bit. And just staying true to who you are during this time is imperative, because
Exactly what Veve is doing, by the way. Staying true to who you are is imperative.
I do think it's going to be a little bumpy here for 24 to 36 months as it settles, similar to ICOs.
So a lot of people have like a 3-year price prediction on when it's realistic to expect $1. Based on what Garyvee is saying, that's when things is going to start settling down. People are really going to start understanding, like, a lot of the bubble is going to be gone, and we're going to have the survivors, the serious projects, yeah.
I think, Raj, if you go back 4 years ago, you had that kind of spike, and then you had all these coins, right? And it took market a little bit to level out kind of to where we are now. I don't think it will take 4 years because I think we've learned from that. At least some people.
And things are so compressed these days that may be a 1 year shakeout period. I
think that's right.
So he thinks a 1 year shakeout period.
And I think that it's important to not get overly emotional about convincing. I think that's where a lot of people are going to get caught. The OGs trying to convince.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of people go wrong in the Veve community. Like, a lot of the haters, like, people don't understand that when I make my content, I reply to all the negativity and things like that, because it's a chance to educate, and it's a chance to bring value to the people who may not know these things and have genuine concerns. I think so many people daily, like, they see, $10 price prediction, they try to convince everyone so hard that it's never going to $10, and it's like, and then they do so with a whole bunch of half-baked points. Stuff like, it's never going to hit $1 trillion market cap. It's never going to do this. It's never going to do that. Every single thing that them same people would have said about Bitcoin 10 years ago. The exact same arguments, the exact same things. Do you really think Bitcoin is going to be as big as all the top 6 companies in the world? And, like, all those exact same arguments would have been said 10 years ago. People don't know the potential of NFT market, because they're looking at things like collectibles. They're like, some freaking collectibles aren't going to do anything. Do you realize this collectible industry could be linked to the movie theaters? It could be linked to all sort of real life, like art galleries and things like that. It could be linked to the real world at so many different points. And people don't even really understand that connection when it comes down to NFTs. There's going to be that linkage in the world, in society, where it goes away from not just collectibles, but these two worlds meet, where it's bringing real world utility as well. That's going to happen, and people don't see that connection. People can only see what's right in front of them. So it is going to take time for people to figure it out. I do educate as much as I can because it does bring a lot of value. A lot of people learn a lot, and I love sharing my understanding of things. But I do have all day to study this stuff and look at this stuff. So I mean, and this is how I stay sharp as well. These videos is how I stay sharp and learn things as well. So all the studying is great.
Yes.
I think I say don't convince, have conviction. Everyone's like, this is great. I, now the artist, don't have to rely on an agent or the gallery. What the artist has to understand when they take on that responsibility is just making the art is it's the variable, but it's only one of them.
It's the same thing as starting a business. Like, an artist, just because they make an NFT does not mean that they've made it. You can still make an NFT and it could be a complete flop and it could be useless. That NFT's value is going to be based on the work that you put in at that point. The thing is, an art gallery displaying your art can bring a lot of eyes and a lot of people who could value your work higher. When it comes down to you creating an NFT, you have to bring those eyes now. You have to get the attention of the people who are going to pay the crazy amounts of money, or you gotta hope that it somehow gets put in front of them. Art galleries, chances are people with big money is going to see your work there. But I mean, that's just, it's just something that's going to be new. NFTs is going to be new. NFTs is really going to change things for a lot of people.
I remind people that art is in the eye of the beholder. There's a subjectiveness that is incredible around this, and actually cultivating a community of people that care about you matters. And there's a million ways to do it. Banksy does it different than I do. The reason people care about me is I engage.
Right.
For real, and so I think that will be interesting. Who's going to actually truly care about their early supporters? I've watched a lot of artists talk about being OG, and then even in 3 weeks have watched them be less about their original community than the new fancy people that are talking to them.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, that's just real talk. So like they were razzing, and then 3 weeks later, they're doing the behavior of what they were razzing because now they have the opportunity too.
Yeah. I think that's the pitfall right there. You get too caught up in the mania, you know, that base, that strong foundation may not be there for you when the mania dies down.
And I think the other thing, back to the, you know, be nice on the way up because people catch you on the way down. I think the other thing people have to be empathetic to is supply and demand.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you're first doesn't mean you're best. Just because you're first doesn't mean you made something that captures people's imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, just realizing that this is going to be a floodgate, you know.
What's crazy about Veve and Ecomi is they are first and they're the best. That's a rare combination, and they have the best team in the world working on it. They have Alfred Khan, who wasn't the first when it came to Pokemon, but he was the best. He like in licensing, you're not the first to come up with the idea, but he was the best to do that with a lot of brands. Hello Kitty, Ninja Turtles, freaking Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. He's not like Al Khan has made a career never being first, but he's been the best. Same with David Yu. So that's the team that's leading this project. For the first time, they are first and they're the best. Bruh.
You know, one of the great things of the old world was limited people got into galleries.
Mm-hmm.
One of the terrible things of the old world is that limited people got into the galleries.
Good.
You know, I look at this like influencer marketing, actually. You know, everybody can now be an influencer. And I think everybody now will have an opportunity to play out some of their ambitions in art. You know, the art world said Jackson Pollock was not art until they did.
Mm-hmm.
This always happens. This is history. So what people have to be prepared for is actual supply and demand. There's going to be more supply over the next 6 months in NFT projects than anybody on this call listening or watching, me and you included, can comprehend.
100% agree.
Literally everybody. And most of it, 98% of it, is going to be short-term transactions,
mm-hmm.
which creates a very interesting and scary bubble scenario.
So obviously he's calling out the bubble. And I think that that's big. We did see a huge bubble happen with Veve. We saw people like that's the thing. Like I was talking to a guy on Twitter who like he's kind of trying to blame Ecomi for like the position that he's in, because he's like, yo, all the new investors, they're getting in at a better price point. So really we get screwed over for holding from the beginning. And it's a situation where all these newer guys, they have a lot more information. You can just pull up 300 videos that I've created by myself. You have 300 videos worth of information. You're going to be way more educated than we were when we came into the community. We were digging. We was just learning these things. Here's a big secret for you all. A lot of my beginning videos, that's when I was reading documents. That's when I was like studying. That's when I was going really into understanding this and learning this. I was learning myself at the beginning. At this point, I learn the new stuff that comes out, but I have that base of information that I spent all that time learning, and all those videos. It's just progression from there. That's why, like, my points and things that I talk about, and it's so solid now. One, because they have confirmed they've confirmed a lot of the stuff that I was understanding and seeing even from the beginning. So now people take it more serious. But now my confidence in my understanding has boosted, because they keep confirming everything that I was seeing to begin with. So yeah, man, it's that's just how it is, man. It's the world changes. Like it may not be fair that people didn't have influencers to make your decision a few months ago, or understand. Like we all thought when it was at a penny, we all thought that it was going to keep going from there. But we didn't understand, oh, look at how big the supply is. Like, there was just so much we didn't understand. You can't be mad at Ecomi for that. It was technically listed right in the white papers. At that time, we just didn't have YouTubers who knew to even look for that, or who knew that was a big deal, or who knew that the FUD around that would be what's more impactful than actually the unlocks. I think this time around, people know that unlocks isn't really that big of a deal and stuff. So, yeah, we're going to see different results. But anyway. Yeah.
Shout out New View Investor. Gary, how do you evaluate an NFT? What is your criteria?
The underlining information,
mm-hmm.
supply and demand,
mm-hmm.
who's behind it, what do I know about them? Do I think they're good? I think of it as jockeys and horses. the underlining data, the subjectiveness and my ability on the creative part, that's the horse. The jockey is who's the human behind this? Do they understand how to cultivate a community in perpetuity, or are they?
The humans behind the projects. I don't know. I mean, let's just say it. Who's beating Alcon when it comes down to? I mean, he's the guy who got Pokemon to where it's at in front of all these people. David Yu also, when it comes down to New Zealand, he's the one who did that. So we have David Yu, we have Alcon. Alcon also did the Ninja Turtles, Hello Kitty, and all of that. Like, who better fits into those boxes than the team over at Veve? Who better does it? So keep that in mind. The things that, and Garyvee, the things that he has been saying has been coming to pass as well. But he's had a deeper understanding for a much longer period of time, and the stuff that he's saying is coming to pass.
They just trying to do something for a quick win.
Right.
So those are the two big criterias.
Shout out New View Investor. Gary, how do you evaluate an NFT? What is your criteria?
The underlining information, supply and demand,
Mm-hmm.
who's behind it, what do I know about them? Do I think they're a good? I think of it as jockeys and horses. The underlining data, the subjectiveness and my ability on the creative part, that's the horse. The jockey is who's the human behind this? Do they understand how to cultivate a community in perpetuity, or are they just trying to do something for a quick win?
Right.
So those are the two big criterias.
Shout out to Wheel. NFTs with a physical counterpart. Does a physical devalue the NFT, or does it not matter?
My intuition is that it enhances.
Mm-hmm.
I think it broadens people's intrigue. I think it's another data point to make it interesting. I don't know where the community sits on this, if they think that eliminates its purity. I could see a path to that. I also don't think anybody gets to make the rules. And I think that people that just want to do the NFT are right for them and themselves. And I think the people that want to do the physical counterpart are right for them and themselves.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger issues right now in the space is the physical custody. No one knows how that's going to play out, right? Once that NFT with the physical counterpart is sold, the physical is distributed, and then that NFT is reposted on a secondary sales site. Do you get the physical? Do you not? What condition is it in? Did someone open? I think that's one of the bigger issues. I imagine someone's going to step in and take care of that.
It's funny. For me, my intuition is that they should be separated immediately.
Mm-hmm.
That the NFT, that's what's amazing about the blockchain and the ledger. It's like so incredible.
It is.
And I think let the real world do its real world thing. You're not going to ever be able to attach it. You've already created a vulnerability if you think you're going to attach it because of condition, provenance, like what really happened.
Right.
I think it's a nice to have. It's an added value. It isn't the thing.
Yeah, that's amazing, because this is also what Veve is doing. Veve has confirmed. I forgot which artist they're actually doing this with. I think it's Kozik. Excuse me if it's wrong, but yeah, they have confirmed that they're gonna have some physicals and some digital coming out together. But ultimately, the whole reason that this is genius is because it's going to the digital way. It's like the world is going to move digital. So while the physical is cool and it is a way to link this and kind of ease people into digital who's been collecting like in real life for the longest, it kind of helps them transition because they can wrap their head around, oh, I have this physical, this is what I want, and oh, I get a digital as well. It kind of eases them into it if they're not ready to just jump all in. But ultimately, the world is going digital, so that's where it's at.
Right.
Is how my stomach thinks of it.
Yeah, I think it's either that, and that's probably most cases, and then I imagine there's a service that comes out that does take custody and
mercantile it, and it just sits somewhere.
Exactly.
I think that.
Shout out Joel Miyazawa. What is your biggest pain point with NFTs?
You know what's so funny? My brain went here right away. It's my knowledge that it's going to get mucky here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You know how this plays out.
I know how this plays out. And I remember the hurt feelings of people I loved in Web 2.0 when it started crossing the chasm of being commercialized. Mm-hmm. And the purity of we're going to change the world mixing with monies. And this one is much more transactional than that was.
Yes.
My biggest difficulty is knowing that there's going to be a lot of emotion, a lot of money lost, a lot of short-term thinking, a lot of bad characters, a lot of people becoming miffed of the overall space because they'll see somebody that they grew up with turn into, in their mind, somebody who's selling out, even though that person is just trying to do something, you know, that's good for their family. There's going to be emotions, and I know that. And so because I know that, it's like, ugh, this is why I think I'm speaking the way I am to everybody, which is like, hey, be prepared. It's okay. It's okay. Like, let go of convincing, lean into conviction, do it your way, because you'll win in the end. You will win in the end. You build a meaningful project that has real community. You might get outsold by somebody who's a better self-promoter, but let's talk about what it looks like in 9 years. And that's what I always play for.
That's the biggest deal, is ignoring the person who's outselling you now.
And what's crazy is we've had that scenario already. Quid was way better at promoting themselves. They announced like what, 300 licenses or something crazy like that. I mean, first they weren't NFT, so it's not really the same league, but they oversold themselves, and Veve didn't really say much at all and outperforming by far. So that goes to show you, Veve is just doing it right very, very early on. Like, a lot of people need to realize how lucky you are to be a part of this project, in my opinion. Veve is doing it so right. To have all this interest and have everybody on the edge of their seats all the time. Really, they have all these huge licenses. They could have went the Quid route and just released everything, told everybody, hey, we're big. We have our value because we're partnered with Marvel. We're partnered with this. We're partnered with that. No, Veve put out like, what, 25 licenses? They're like, okay, we have these. And then they slowly announce the rest. And when they do announce it, it's big. It's going in the right publications and things like that. It's everywhere. It's a big moment, a celebration. And then it's going to be that same type of moment the first time they actually release NFTs. Like, the Marvel NFTs have yet to come, and it's already been a huge explosion because, for the simple fact that Marvel has been confirmed. So, yeah, man. Things is going to get very, very interesting from here. It's going to get very, very interesting.
Correct.
Because it's so easy to look at that. It just
and having the humility to not impose your way of seeing this on everybody.
Yes.
People, you know, it's like, it's important because
I think I do that a lot. I do that. Like, it's not intentional. It's just very, very hard seeing someone who doesn't understand the project argue to their last breath things that they don't actually understand. Like, they'll sit here and say the 3 toughest points in their mind, and all of that is easily disputed, and then they just say something random and just to go back to sticking to those points. It's like, yeah, ignore the facts. Like, they say, oh, you think Omi will hit $1 trillion market cap? That's gonna pass all these companies. Then you respond, in 10 years, these companies are not going to be where they are today, and you don't know what's going to be the floor for the top cryptos. You don't know that. You don't know this information. Crypto, the floor has not been established in crypto just yet. What's realistic has not been established in crypto yet. So that, like, when people say these arguments where it's like, oh, 100% that's unrealistic, you don't know what you're talking about. It's like, that's the stuff that, like, you are the one who are proving you don't know what you're talking about, because you can't even take a step back and understand that it's impossible for anybody to know. Think of the best crypto expert in the world that you know. It's impossible for them to know. All they can do is go based off of history. But every single day, crypto is doing something that history has never expected or never experienced. There's new projects that's coming, changing the world. NFTs are coming and changing the world. It's like, so yeah, it's hard for me to not call out bullshit when I see it, and there's a lot of it that goes around and gets spread. But hey, man, I mean, I'll get better with that. But I mean, it does make for great content, like debunking all those points. And then it's a lot of people who constantly come on board and start understanding. They're like, oh, I finally see what you're talking about. So that's always a great feeling too. Like, people seeing the same arguments, people start believing the same dumb arguments, and then they start actually listening to the facts of what makes that arguments invalid, and more people really understanding the truth. Like, so
it's what happens to people that fall in love with a band that gets big. They start hating them.
That's right.
But you didn't get to control, you know, you don't get to control what the band's doing. You get to control how you enjoy it. You're in charge of that.
That's right. I knew about them first, right? It's that whole thing.
Which is going to happen a lot right now.
Yeah. So there we have it, y'all. Let me know what you all think about this in the comment section down below. I just found this to be very, very interesting. Garyvee touched on a lot of great points when it comes down to NFTs. But yeah, let me know y'all thoughts. Be sure to drop that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'm gonna catch you all on the next one. Peace out, Joe.